In this video, we're going to look at how we can add further visual interest using some of the graphical tools like Sparklines, Pictures, and Shapes. Rowan would like to illustrate the trends in core waste production and recovery rates for each state, but he doesn't want to have to create 16 charts. One alternative is to use a sparkline. A sparkline is really a miniature chart that sits inside one cell. To create a sparkline, you can either select the data or the cell where you want the sparkline to go. We're going to start by clicking in K5, and then we're going to come to our Insert ribbon, and in the Sparklines group, you'll see there are 3 to choose from. We're going to choose a column sparkline, and it's identified our location range, but we now need to give it a data range. So we're going to select from C5 across to H5, and then just press OK. And there's our sparkline. The great thing about sparklines is you can use the fill handle to copy them. So if I come to my fill handle, that bottom right-hand corner, and drag down, I can now see the trends for each of my states. When you copy a sparkline that way, they are automatically linked or grouped. You can ungroup all of them or an individual one by coming up to the sparkline ribbon and clicking Ungroup. But we're going to leave them grouped because if you do that, changing one will change all of them. So I'm just going to select a single sparkline and we'll look at some of the mods we can make. First of all, there's some style options, so I could go for a different shade of blue. You could come to sparkline color and be a bit more specific as well. You can change the marker color. So these are particular points within the sparkline. So for example, the high point, I'm going to make that a dark red. You can also copy-paste sparklines. So I'm going to select the whole group, Control-C to copy, click next to my resource recovery rates, and Control-V to paste. These ones, however, while linked to each other, are not linked to the first set. So clicking into my second group, I'm going to make some changes as well. I'm going to come to Sparkline, and I'd like these to be line graphs rather than column charts. On the left-hand side, you can change your sparkline type. And of course, you can change the color here as well. So I'm going to come to my styles, go for a green one this time, and change my high point to be a nice bright yellow. So very easy to create and to modify. If you needed to update the data that the sparkline was looking at, you could come to Edit Data. And if you need to remove sparklines, just select the ones you want to remove and click the Clear button on your sparkline ribbon. So that was the first thing we want to look at. Now, the other thing Rowan would like to do is when he changes territory or state in the map, he would like to get a summary of their recovery, recycling, and landfill percentages. Now, we could obviously just put a little formula under here. The only difficulty with that is it's going to be very hard to position the data nicely because we have to now start widening our columns. What Rowan would like to do is actually have those values sitting in a graphical way that he can just drag and drop them and make them any size he likes. You can achieve this by linking a value to a shape. The first thing we of course are going to have to do is have a calculation to return the correct values for the selected state. So a little bit of revision on our VLOOKUP. We're going to click into N1 first, and we're going to type equals VL for VLOOKUP, and the value we're looking up is our selected state, so I'm going to click on K1 and comma. Now I'm going to select all my data in the bottom section, so from B29 to E36, and then another comma. My recovery data, which is the first thing I want, is in column 2, so that's a 2 and a comma. And finally, this is definitely an exact match, so I either need to type false or 0. Now I'm going to close my bracket and I'm actually going to copy that whole thing, copy everything after the equals, Control-C, just to save me some time. And now I'm going to tab. Now the second thing I want to do is get my recycling, so I'm going to type equals and paste. And then I just need to edit the column to be column 3 and tab. And then the same thing, equals, Control-V, and let's change that to column 4 and enter. And there are my 3 rates for Northern Territories. They'll look better as percentages. So I'm going to highlight that and make it a percentage. And if I come and change this to ACT, they're my percentages for ACT. So that's all working really nicely, but I actually want to see those values appearing in a more graphical way underneath my map. So what we're going to do is use a shape. Shapes are extremely useful. We can use them as buttons. We've seen that with our macros. And we can use them to display values in dashboards, or we can use them to display values in our workbook. We're going to come to our Insert ribbon again, and in the Illustrations group, we're going to look for shapes. There are a lot to choose from. The one I'm going to use is in the flowchart group. It's called a Terminator. You can use any one you like though. And I'm going to click once and release, and then I'm going to move my crosshair, that little cross, to the position where I want my shape to go. And then I'm going to click, hold, and drag to draw the shape. Once you've drawn the shape, you can make some changes to it. So you'll see a shape format ribbon has appeared. And on the right-hand side, you can change the size. And I would like mine to be exactly 1, and then I'm just going to press Tab, and 3 centimeters. You can also, of course, change your colors. So you've got a gallery of shape styles you can choose from, or you can be more specific. I'm going to come to my shape fill, and I'm going to make it black, and I'm going to change my outline to white. So a bit simple. And then one last thing with the shape, we're going to come to Home, and I'm going to center align the text. Now I'm not going to type anything in there yet. I actually need 3 shapes, and rather than going through all of that again, I'm going to duplicate this shape. You could copy paste, but the duplicate is a really quick way of doing that. So I'm going to hold Control down and press D twice. And that's your keyboard shortcut to duplicate. And then I'm going to grab my 3rd shape and move it roughly into the position where I want it to be. So we'll put it about there. We don't want to spend a lot of time lining our shapes up, but it is important that they're properly aligned for that good finish. So here's some great tools to speed the process up. We're going to use our Shift key to select all 3 shapes. I'm going to come up to my Shape Format ribbon, and I'm going to find the Align tool on the right. And I'm going to start by aligning them all to the bottom. That means they'll all align to the shape that's at the lowest point. Then I'm going to come back to Align, and I'm going to distribute horizontally. Really quick. Right. Now that's done, let's go and link our shapes to the percentages in our top row. So I'm going to click on the first shape, and I'm going to click into my formula bar. This is a really neat trick. I'm going to type equals and click on the cell that has the value I want to link to. You can't put a whole formula in here, but obviously you can put a complex formula in the cell you're linking to. And then just press Enter. And then let's repeat that process for the other 2 shapes. And now I don't need to see these values anymore. I don't need to see any of these. So I'm going to select that row and change my text to black. So you don't have to hide the row. If you just want it to visually disappear, you can just make the text the same color as the background. Last thing I need to do now is actually label these shapes, because otherwise I don't know what these values are telling me. And you could use a text label, you could use another shape. But another option is to use a picture. And the saying is, a picture says 1,000 words. So let's go back to our Insert tab, come to Pictures, and we're going to get them from this device. And when you downloaded the workbooks, it should also have downloaded 3 images. So please navigate to the folder where your workbooks are. And we're going to select all 3 using our Shift key. And then I'm going to click Insert. Now they are a little bit large, so I'm just going to move them sort of slightly more onto the screen. And then I'm going to come up to Picture Format, and I'm going to come into Height and just type 1.2 and press Enter to resize them all at once. And then I'm just going to move them down. Now click away for a moment to unselect them, and we can just go and put each one next to its relevant figures. So the recovery is the first one, then recycling, and then landfill. And then maybe we'll just select all 3 and again align them So I'm going to say align top this time. So what we've done here is we've used sparklines, shapes, and images to add that bit of graphical interest to our worksheets. We look forward to hearing your ideas on how we can add visual interest to our worksheets. Don't forget to go and add your ideas to this week's Creative Corner.